Facebook, or we'll come back with a YouTube video and we'll put it up on Facebook. So we'll be delayed for about an hour. But I'll start over. Good evening. It's Robert Vaughn with Mike Shomo. And we have a special guest today, Jamaal Boyd. He is Stephen Jamaal Boyd, AKA Maal G. He's a licensed master barber, educator, a mentor, musical artist, businessman, husband, father, and the president and co-founder of the Junior Barnes Foundation. And I know you're probably saying, well, when does he have time to eat? Well, he kind of eats, you know, if you cut your hair, he'll say, hey, I'll be back in 2 minutes, and then he'll go eat and he'll come back. So I guess that's when he eats. But he's been a master barber for 20 years and has proven accomplishments in the barber industry. His work has been featured on ESPN, ABC News, as well as television commercials and major films. So, you know, there's, you know, guys that can cut, and there's master barbers, you know, that can really cut. So he has been 18 years working with youth in the Cleveland area. And this is kind of what got our attention, because besides doing all this other stuff, he also gives a lot of his time to the youth in the community. And I think that's something that's commendable, because a lot of youth don't have role models. So he's been very helpful, you know, keeping youth on the straight and narrow path, which is, I think, is very commendable. He also, he's a teacher with the Maal summer program based out of Cleveland State. And through the nonprofit Junior Barnes Foundation, founded by him and his wife, Sharana Boyd, they use mentorship to help shape the minds of youth in our area schools and juvenile detention centers to be inspired to strive for greatness. He's a true artist of music. His sound is a merge of hip hop, jazz, gospel, funk, and neo soul. Music has been a ministry tool and a calling for Maal G. He combines his love and passion for music with his love for culture and positivity. Through album 28, Classic Soul, and a vibe called Blessed, Mind and Body Soul, and his latest LP, Fresh Oxygen. So he just doesn't make beats. He makes real, like, music, real albums. So I would encourage you, check out Maal G sometime. So without further hesitation, Maal G, tell us a little bit about what you do and who you are. And I'd be interested in knowing about your nonprofit and youth work you do. And then we can go, you know, talk about the artistry and some of the other things, because I think that's something that's really sorely needed now. So you got the floor. Talk to me.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for having me part of this show. Is long awaited. I've been waiting to join you guys for quite some time, so I appreciate your time and all the listeners this evening taking the time out to check us out. Yeah, so the nonprofit organization was started back in 2015. The name of the organization is the Junior Barnes Foundation. And we named that organization after one of my close childhood friends named William Barnes Jr., who was heinously murdered by gun violence in 2015. And he was one of my closest friends growing up. Him and his family, the Barnes family, they actually extended the opportunity for me to open up my first barbershop in 2004. On East 93rd Street in Cleveland. And because you know, their whole family and Will had a heart for community outreach, you know, it was something that me and him together wanted to give back to the community where, you know, that barbershop was rooted in. And so it kind of just started as a seed organization just to kind of give back to that neighborhood. And because, you know, outreach was just something that we really wanted to do, it turned into a nonprofit organization. So back, like I said, back in 2015, after he passed, we kind of just started trying to find our roots and find out where we could find our niche in community outreach. So we actually did a few things we do an annual hat, scarves, and glove drive for the homeless. That was something that we started as a seed. And then we also started in the juvenile detention centers as well. That was something that, you know, we really wanted to find a way to, you know, touch the community and touch the youth before, you know, they got into a systematic thing in that. Say it again.
Until you know, so that the streets wouldn't consume them.
Exactly. So the streets wouldn't consume them. And so, you know, the juvenile detention route was cool in seed, but you know, we wanted to find a better way to get to the youth. And so that's where the mentorship program came into play, because we wanted to try to reach them before they even got to the juvenile detention centers. And so we started a mentorship program called Future Initiative. And we break the word future down as an acronym. So we break it down as focused, unafraid, teachable, unbound, responsible, and enjoy. And so when we break those 6 principles down to the youth, it's in a form of where they can connect those principles to a career path and to how they can, you know, engage in those principles for their future. And mentorship is just something that, you know, after doing some research and study, I read, you know, forward and back the book by Dr. Jawaza Kunjufu, the Destruction to Destroy the Black Boy, the Conspiracy to Destroy the Black Boy. And, you know, one of the key things that he pointed out in that book was the power of mentorship and rites of passage, and really teaching our youth, you know, a grassroots way of, you know, getting into a healthier upbringing, you know, outside of where their communities and these streets, you know, show them. So, you know, our outreach through those mentorship programs have been, you know, just very life-changing for myself and for the youth that we've engaged with. You know, they've been impacted. And also our mentors, you know, who've been a part of, you know, joining forces with us. We've had every range of entrepreneurs, from doctors to police officers to construction workers, just everyday people who wanted to come and kind of share their story to the youth and try to relate to them, showing them, you know, they came from these same communities, these same neighborhoods, and how they were able to, you know, break free and you know, just break generational curses and generational strongholds. So, you know, just the outreach through Junior Barnes Foundation has just, like I said, it's been a real blessing to my life, because it's not only gave me a outlet to pour into our community, but it's also giving other people an outlet to be able to mentor and pour into the community.
Okay, Mike?
Yeah. In your, where's your barbershop at on 93rd?
So the barbershop that I had on 93rd was in between Kinsman and Union, right there. It's set on the corner of Myra. There's a Sunoco gas station right there. It is ironic. That's actually where they put the Black Lives Matter on the street.
Right.
They put that Black Lives Matter right in the front of where that shop is. We stayed there until, I stayed there until 2008. And then due to some circumstances, I had to shut that location down. Currently now I'm actually in Beechwood, Ohio, partnered with a group, FX Media Solutions, and I run a hair and makeup department in that facility. But Classic Soul, where that shop was rooted, was on East 93rd Street in between Kinsman and Union.
Did you work in another shop before you got your own shop?
Yes, sir. So it's funny. I have some loyal clients in the city of Cleveland. I've had 8 locations. I've been to 8 locations. So the first shop that I started cutting hair at in 2001 was a shop called Charlene's Barber Shop on Monticello, by Monticello and Green. And then shortly after, it turned into Legends Barber Shop. I don't know if you.
Charlene first worked with the Uppercut.
Yep.
Al Rollins. Al Rollins started cut. You remember Al's barbershop when it was on?
I remember, man. I used to go there when I was in junior high school. Yeah.
You can trace.
Is that on Union?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
You could
Yep.
actually, that's what an uppercut was, but before, back in the mid-60s, it was Al's Barbershop on 150, between 154th and 153rd in Kansas. And
And you know what Al would make you do? When you were sitting there waiting, he'd make you read books on Black history.
oh yeah. He died a couple years ago.
He'd say, take a look at this. Yeah, yeah.
Shelly Bennett from Bennett's Barbecue. I mean, Barbershop. We got Shelly from on Fleet, and we have Shannon. All of them came out of Al's Barbershop.
Yeah.
That's what I was
Nice.
your head. So now you part of that family too, because you say you came out of Charlene's, because Charlene used to be over on St. Clair, because she moved out of there and got her own spot off St. Clair first.
Mhm.
Right. And she was on Noble.
Yeah.
I believe St. Clair, then Noble Road, and then she located it on Monticello. Are you familiar with James the Barber? You know James, you ever heard of James the Barber?
105.
This was on Noble. This was when he was on Noble Road.
I don't know James, but he probably came into that set too.
Yep.
But that's what I was saying as far as, lineage and heritage, like in the family, like you in the family of barbers. Like I said, you came in under Charlene, and she came in under Al.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It goes to the fact when she was at Al's, she was the only lady in there, and they were like, a lot of people couldn't go to that barbershop because they were Black nationalists, and they had the dashikis on and the tiki heads, and barbershop. A lot of the guys that we went to Shaker with couldn't get their haircut there because their parents were in fear of them being radicalized. But actually, there was so much knowledge and good vibes in there. They have a famous wall now on 104th and Union at the barbershop at the Uppercut that has like so many pictures. They got Carlos and Smith posters and stuff, Eric Dolphy and Marcus Garvey. This wall, people have offered his daughter, because he's passed away. They've been offered money to take that whole wall down and put it someplace. They trying to figure it out now. But I was just saying, in a lot of times in barbering and stuff, because you start in somebody's shop, just like you said, you build some clients here. Okay, we're going over here now. I want y'all to come with me. Come over here. Okay, now. So you did that 8 times. So you really did.
It's been a journey, and I've been inside that Uppercut barbershop and seen that wall that you're talking about. It's a rich history on that wall. I hope they do deserve it somehow. I really do.
That's what I'm saying. They've been offered a lot of money for that, but his daughter's just trying to work it out. But and all that stuff, man, it's just so much,
Yeah.
So
I'm thankful that the era that I came, into barbering. I call the generation that I came in like the last of a dying breed, as far as really, the essence of just community building in the barbershop. Now the era that barbering is in now, it's kind of like everybody is every man for himself type mentality. It's not that community organization like it used to be.
But see, Al was also like a mentor, because when he had his shop on Kinsman, see, we would, we'd be running around, doing what teenagers do. And if you ever wanted to know something about the street or something you didn't know, you say, man, let's go ask Al. And he would tell you what you should do and what you shouldn't do, what you shouldn't be doing, where you should go. And, you shouldn't be down there on 118th and Union. You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't do this, And so he was more than just a barber. He was a mentor to the young Black men in the community. Because, he would offer guidance, and he would give you a lot of knowledge, man, about yourself and about other things. So he was more than a barber. Yeah.
He was a musician. He played saxophone.
Yeah, when I first walked in his shop, man, not to cut you off, but he got a picture of Miles Davis and John Coltrane on the wall. So I said, man, this dude got to be cool. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you know, he was a musician because he played with what's the blind guy.
Eddie Backus.
Eddie Backus. He played with Eddie Backus. Eddie Backus' son played, you know, with the national group. But
Yeah,
they would, I mean, up until probably he died. Up until then, we would go down on Friday night to see him play at the Wolf's Den. You know, but you know, those were barbers that were like you were saying, and you know, meaning to get right back on track is that they were connected to the community. They were connected to the community. They were part of it. You know, and that's now, you know, you got these. I saw a place up on Chagrin, Gentleman something, you know, and it was a barber shop, but I was just okay.
No, shout out to them. They doing some nice stuff over there at that shop. I actually did a community.
It's a beautiful shop.
It is. No, and a group of brothers actually came together and tried to do some networking out of that shop. So they're trying to do some good things out of that.
That's good. That's good.
It's black owned.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about your mentorship work with the kids and the Junior Barnes Foundation. You know, because we had another gentleman on that goes to the juvenile detention center to work with kids. Adam Morgan.
Adam Morgan, International Man of Excellence.
Yeah, Adam Morgan, he does something similar. So tell us about some of the work you do there with the kids, man. I'd be interested in hearing that.
So, well, starting with the Juvenile Detention Center, because that was our roots, we started going to the Juvenile Detention Center monthly. And that was a beautiful experience just to be able to bring some light into that, you know, juvenile detention center. One thing when we first went there, you know, it really hit me in the heart where I had to shed tears the very first time I went into the juvenile detention center right there on Quincy, because it just disturbed me so much to see young boys condition. And at the age, I mean, early ages at like 10, 11, 12, already chain gang style, you know, jail suit, you know, shackled and chained. And for me, I understood that their minds are so impressionable and they were already institutionalized at that early age. And, you know, it was one time, you know, we were in there and we had a group of brothers in there. I mean, just pouring into them for at least 2-3 hours, really just having real, you know, pour out sessions with them. And immediately after we got done, a fight broke out. And it hurt my heart because it let me know that, you know, it was so much more work to be done. And that's when I decided for us to go into the schools. And one of my close colleagues, Jabari Dorsey, who was in charter schools, he gave me my first opportunity to get into an actual school to form this mentorship program. And that was at Life Skills School, which is a school that's for kids who are trying to get a second start on completing the high school experience. And so that's where we literally formed that Future Initiative program birthed out of Life Skills School. And then the next school that gave us an opportunity was Anton Gardena Elementary School, right in the Garden Valley community. And that's where I would say our hub is for the nonprofit. We're hubbed in the Garden Valley community, partner with Burton Bell Carr organization. And so they gave us an opportunity to pour into young men, young boys who are in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade there. You know, a lot of the young males who are really troubled, who are going through, you know, broken home situations and, you know, trying to keep them on track to just complete junior high school and hopefully high school, you know, because the dropout rate was so high. And so, you know, we really wanted to get an opportunity with dealing with that age group to bring some professionals, some people who've been from their situation similar, and just from that community in general, to speak to them and speak life into them and just give them some hope about what they can do if they stick to an educational path. And what you gonna say?
Okay, on I don't know about now, but you know, Anton Gandina used to be a major work school because
Right.
we lived over on 96 and Miles, and my daughter, the one that's a doctor, they sent her to Anton Gandina because they had all the I used to call them little eggheads. They had all the smart kids going to Anton Gandina.
Yes.
And I said,
Yeah.
why they got them going in the Garden Valley like that? But you know, that was a major work school for gifted kids.
Okay. Well, it's slightly changed up now. I don't know if in that area they probably had junior. You know, Cleveland Public got rid of the majority of their, if not all of their junior highs. So now
Right.
Anton Gardena is K through 8,
Okay.
and it basically, you know, services the kids who are in that community. So majority of these kids who are at Anton Gardena are coming from the Garden Valley Projects community, you know, right in the heart of, you know, the projects.
Okay.
And
All
so,
right.
you know, they going through some stuff for sure right there in that community. And so we've been there successfully for 5 years. We actually took them, we took one trip out of state. We took them up to Michigan, the group that we were working with in 2019, right before the pandemic. We were able to successfully take a group up to Michigan, took them to Detroit, took them to the Motown Museum, took them to the African American Museum up there. Just gave them some exposure outside of Cleveland. And I know that was a big thing for a lot of them who never even been outside of their neighborhood, you know.
Had the 6 block syndrome.
Exactly. You know, I mean, we're talking about youth who, if you took them over to Lake Erie, they thinking that's the ocean. You know, they've never been outside of their comfort zones of their community, like you said. So, you know, just to be able to have that opportunity to work with those youth like that, you know, it's been a blessing over in that Garden Valley community. And then we've also partnered with 2 other schools, George Washington Carver. We started our partnership with them this summer. We were a part of the Cleveland Schools Summer Learning Program. And so we were able to do our mentorship with some younger kids at that school. And that was imperative because, you know, a lot of these kids suffered tremendously and still suffering right now from the trauma of this coronavirus, having them out of school for 1.5 years, almost 2 years. And so that was like a good system that Cleveland Public, I applaud Cleveland Public Schools for having some sort of bridge over the summertime to be able to get them acclimated back into the learning atmosphere. And we were able to take, you know, a decent amount of field trip, took them to the zoo, took them to the Cleveland Museum, took them to the Art Museum, Natural History Museum over the summer. Just some things to kind of keep them engaged. And then we also brought other mentors to speak life into them, brought some architects and some authors, just, you know, out of the box professionals that they're not used to being able to, you know, engage and have conversation with and ask them what was their route.
Have access to.
Exactly. And
That's so important.
Not least, say it again.
I was gonna say it's so important for the youth because a lot of times you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know to be a CPA if you've never been exposed to that. Or
Yes,
you
sir.
don't know, you know, what an A&R rep is for a record label if you've never been exposed to that, you know. And I think, you know, being exposed is so important to young people because they got their whole life in front of them. And they may decide, you know, I want to be an architect, but now, you know, I think I want to fix motorcycles, you know. But I think, you know, exposure is so important because, like you said, they think Lake Erie is the ocean. And a lot of them never get exposed to things like that. So when you bring people in that they can relate to, and they can say, oh, you know, like a lot of them probably said, you know, I love to eat donuts, but I never dreamed that I could own a bakery, you know. And you bring Mike in there, here's a guy that used to live here that owns a bakery, you know. and that's I think that's commendable and very important work to be done. Mike is pretty active in the community. He's worked with youth. Of course, everybody that's ever coached basketball or football for youth, you're more of a counselor than you are a coach, you know. So that's that's why most of us have done it. But
to the whole family sometimes.
Yeah, the whole family. You do. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. You know, you got talk to, well, how's my son doing? How's this? Well, look here. You know, you got to tell him to do this, and this, and then next thing you know, counseling the mama, the daddy, and be like, okay, y'all.
Yeah, you do.
There's a lot. There's a lot of conversations in coaching and trying to. And the thing is, I have training programs for adults, and we had a lot of success. We couldn't get the money that Edwards was getting, but they were training people out of prisons and stuff, and that was the same thing we were doing. But they have a tendency to when you got connections and stuff, and I didn't have the connections that he had. In fact, we were just I'm just talking to another big organization, the national organization, that want my janitorial program, and we're supposed to be having some meetings in the next in the near future to bring the program there. But and then there's people that I was just talking to on Saturday that want to do a youth thing that between 15 and 19 years old, to teach them how to maintain floors and buildings and stuff, and you got to figure like this, these jobs are always in demand. You get a job. A lot of people get a job doing a cleaning job just to hold them on and keep food on the table till they can find something that they really like, And I think that at one point, not so much now because they had a lot of schools, but then a lot of schools became fraudulent for the hair care and barbers and beauty shops, and they had to close down a couple of schools here, because with ghost students and people come in and don't show no more, and they're still getting the money for it and stuff, and the people not there. So a lot of times when people are doing fraudulent things, it hurts a lot of other people.
Right.
Let's do a little pivot here. Yeah, let's do a little pivot here. It's something that all three of us got in common. I want you to talk about your experience, Jamaal, and that's the music business. Mike used to run a studio. He's managed groups, did a little A&R work, and I, dibbled and dabbled for a while. And you're an artist, you're a producer, you have a record label. So tell us a little bit about that. And if you have any jobs for $400 grand a year as A&R, Mike and I might be available. So
you pay me $350.
Hey, we're gonna speak that into existence, because hopefully my budget can afford that in the next coming years.
Yeah. But tell us a little bit about that, about your musical experience. Being a music guy and Mike being a music guy, we'd like to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah. So music, it goes back deep in my DNA. My father is a musician, singer, part of a group called Hugh People, and he was definitely one of the first major influences who put music into my life. At an early age. I was, since as long as I can remember, I was, in the gospel choir at my church growing up. I played upright bass in the orchestra at my school. And I was a generation of hip hop. I'm from the hip hop generation, and that was a huge influence over me as well. And so back in 2012, I finally gathered up enough courage to go ahead and step out there and try to create my first piece of music art. And that was a project called Album 28 that I'm so proud about because I got my whole family to be a part of it. And that came under the umbrella of my music label, Studio 28. And that's something that, you know, has been therapeutic for me more so than anything, to be able to have an outlet to create music. And also create music for me is something that I'm passionate about, doing something that's you know, uplifting. I like to put positivity in my music and bring something that, you know, people can be inspired behind listening to. And so hip hop, you know, for me was something that you know, I started in my high school years. You know, me and the friends, we used to always, you know, after school, rhyme and, you know, try to put some rhymes together, you know, being inspired from our biggest hip hop acts that we were looking up to growing up. And just over the years of continuing to cultivate on the craft and working on it, you know, I created an art form and a style of my own that I'm proud of. And you know, like I said, to date, I have 5 projects that I've released and put out. You can stream 2 of them on all major platforms. I have a plethora of music videos that I've released. I've directed and filmed some of my own music videos as well. And
tell everybody where they can see your music. What's your, tell everybody where they can see your music and hear your music and see
so,
it.
the best way to stream all my music is going directly to my website, which is maalg.com. MAALG.com. That's MAALG.com. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Now please continue.
So like I said, my latest project was entitled Fresh Oxygen. And I could just mainly speak about, you know, my inspiration behind that album was the recent passing of my late great uncle Reggie Watkins, my father's younger brother. He passed away in 2020, and he was also one of my biggest music inspirations. He was the head of the National Baptist Convention's organ and piano department, and this man was a maestro when it comes to the keys and directing and scoring music. He's a gospel artist himself. And, you know, after his passing, I just got inspired to make something in his honor. And so if you listen to the first song on there, it's actually a tribute to him and my father, because it was the last time that they were able to perform together. Which was in 2019, right before my father had major surgery. And so that project right there, just, I created it during the pandemic, during the time frame when I had to stop cutting hair. I couldn't, you know, express my art form through that. And so I just really dug deep and, you know, got inspired with everything that the world was going through with this pandemic, and, you know, just the loss that I had just recently encountered, and came up with what I feel like is my best work to date.
All right.
And so, you know, sometimes tragedy bring out the best in you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, sir.
You're right. Yep, it does.
Sir.
Yeah.
I got a song on there. I got one song on there called Young, Black, and Gifted. And I actually was blessed to be able to utilize my connections with the schools. If you watch that video on YouTube, you'll see we're actually in Wade Park Elementary School, which is another one of our partnering schools that I work with. And we were able to get some youth involved in that video, got them to do some of their first time acting experience in that video. And that song really, to me, was very inspiring, because it speaks to just our young Black males, our young Black girls, just pouring into them and letting them know how gifted and talented they are, and how, you know, they can just really need to, you know, link to all of the people who came before them and really understand how gifted they are.
Okay, all right. This is something I've often been curious about. Mike and I, when we came up at a young age, we were involved in the political system. I mean, I was at, I didn't go to the Million Man March, but I was at the Poor People's March back in the late 60s. And where we lived or where we came up at the time, there was like a legacy of being active in your community. I can remember working on a campaign, John Conyers' first campaign in Detroit. I must have been 9 or 10 years old. They just said, just stand out front of the school, hand these out and tell everybody to vote for John Conyers. Do you see that same activism, or do you see youth becoming engaged now? And I mean, it was something, I think, Mike, something pretty much everybody did, wasn't it? I mean.
Yeah.
I'm lost.
Oh, you lost? Okay. But Jamaal, do you see that in the youth now?
I can speak to that. Like we were talking about right before the call started, I actually did go to the first Million Man March in 1995 with my father. And that left a very impressionable mark on me, to just be able to be in the presence of over 1 million Black people who were there on one accord and one atonement, for a common cause. Now, unfortunately, like we were talking about, I don't feel like there was enough of a plan in place afterwards, to mobilize that forward. But I was thankful that in 2015, Minister Farrakhan brought, the 20-year anniversary of that. And I gathered a group of brothers, and we went back to that anniversary Million Man March. And one thing that I can say that inspired me to do was go back to my community, because it was something that during that time frame in 2015, Cleveland had suffered from one of the highest rates of murders in that year. And this was prior to one of my closest friends getting killed. And right after we came from that Million Man March, the second one in 2015 is the same year my brother was murdered. And so from those two events, going to that second Million Man March, and then suffering from one of my closest friends getting murdered, that's where Junior Barnes Foundation was birthed. And so I could say, that was something that inspired me. One thing that, Minister Farrakhan said at that march was, go back to your community and make a difference. We all have a responsibility to make a difference and make a change within our communities. And, we can't wait for, the powers that be to land a $1 million plan in our laps, for us to mobilize our community. We have to be that change. Everything that I've done, within our inner city communities is from the hearts of like-minded individuals who said they want to see a difference. And, and so I am a product of, going into your communities, seeing a issue and trying to make a change, and it takes a lot of us to do it. But, I'm proud that the people who support me and the Junior Barnes Foundation have tried to do their part.
Well, one of my biggest things or my biggest issues see, when we came up, when we talked to the older guys, we got wisdom and, knowledge from them. And, a lot of times they, kept us from really getting in trouble. But now, you have young people that when you say something to them, they want to fight you, or they want to say this, or they are old school, shut the hell up, and all this. And, they're just so angry. And we be trying to, if y'all, they act like, in my scenario of it is that, hey, I said, they don't talk to us. They don't look at us. They don't want to have a conversation with us, because they know one day they're going to be us. And they're afraid of that.
Yeah.
They're afraid of that. So
absolutely.
But see, the thing is, if our young Blacks, we are the only race of people that do not respect our elders. We are the only race, man. Everybody, you know, the Native Americans, the Italians, the Irish, you know, you talk about grandma, grandpa, you know, mother and father, man, that's, you know, that's sacred. But to us, and a lot of them have been raised by their grandparents. And then they get up and say, you know, I don't need you, you old, you this, you that. And we just like, okay. But, you know, to mobilize them, to get into a situation where, you know, they want to help the community, you find more people now, young people seem to me, and that, you know, I may be wrong, but it seems to me that they want to do more destruction than they want to do construction.
Yeah. Yeah, to your point, I definitely agree. As far as in our African American community, it's far too many issues related to the young people not respecting our elders like they need to. I, you know, and I'll be 40 next year. You know, I feel like was one of the last generations to come out who still, you know, pride in saying yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. Now, you know, for a young generation, for a young, especially a teenager or even in their 20s, to be able to, you know, address an elder in that type of respect is like foreign. And you know, I look at it on different layers. You know, I also look at it from a society standpoint. I do see other races of people where, you know, just respect to eldership isn't there. You know, it's in the culture, it's in the music, it's in the, you know, the TVs, it's in the movies. And, you know, a lot of these kids that are coming up now are really just a product of how society is just, you know, brainwashing them. It's in social media, it's in so much that they're getting pushed to, you know, there's not enough grassroots just coming from the family perspective of teaching the kids to respect their elders. So, you know, you're absolutely right on.
I know they're just being inundated with a lot of nonsense, and, you know, and they, you know, when does common sense kick in?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
well, the music is even different. I mean, if you listen to the kind of music we came up with, it was kind of like message music.
Yeah, Curtis Mayfield.
Right.
Yeah, you know, if I mean, it was kind of music that made you think, you know, smiling faces, you know.
I recently saw this interview with the running back.
Yourself, you know, yeah.
Right.
Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I recently saw this interview with Maurice Claret, the running back from Ohio State.
Yeah.
And he was telling his story about, you know, where his situation went wrong. And one of the biggest things that he blamed, you know, his negative influence was from the music that he was listening to. And he was saying how, you know, music is a powerful thing like that. Music has the ability to, you know, psychologically, you know, put you in a place, you know, negative or positive. And like you said, your generation, that's why I feel like, you know, to this day, the music of the 60s, 70s, you know, was some of the most powerful music to come out because it has such a socially conscious perspective behind it. And, you know, positive, and was talking about love and, you know, uplifting your community.
More power to the people.
Power to the people, you know, that type of stuff.
Yeah. When Aretha Franklin's Respect, her, you know, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, you know, when that song Respect came out, it was sort of coincided or helped foster like a Black consciousness, raising of the Black consciousness. And you used to hear that song, I remember, everywhere you went. You were in a car, you were in a barbershop, you heard that song everywhere you went. And you know, it was about respect, it was about self-respect, you know. And
right.
I don't know, I don't see some of the music I hear nowadays,
well,
it's not, hip-hop is different than rap to me. I think hip-hop, I know one time when this was years ago when I first got in the music business, I had an artist he was a hip-hop artist. He was more of a rapper than a hip-hop artist. But we went to this hip-hop show, and I never managed a hip-hop artist before, and I had on a suit and tie, you know. I pulled me aside, he said, man, the suit is cool, man. He said, but hip-hop, man, he said, it's a movement, brother. He said, hip-hop is a movement. He said, and that's the most important thing I could tell you. And until that time, I thought it was just about music, you know. but it's about more. That's why I say there's a difference to me between hip hop and rap.
More about the culture. It's more about the culture.
Yes, more
Absolutely.
about right.
Absolutely. And that's where I pride myself to be a hip hop artist, not a rapper. And the one thing I wanted to say too is, just for our listeners and our viewers who are trying to understand, the influence of this hip hop music or rap music in a negative light, we also got to understand, who are these decision makers who are controlling the airwaves and controlling the major media. These are the same people who are connected to owning private prisons and institutions that they profit off of from having our youth listening to this music and playing out the acts that the music is talking about, going to prison, and then making these people money. So it's a business that's also attached to it. We have to understand that, as parents and grandparents, to protect our babies from listening to too much of that type of music, because it's part of a planned, institutionalized system, to keep us in that type of frame of mind.
We listened to, I know when Mike and I came along, we listened to jazz all the time, man.
Yeah.
Charles Lloyd, Forrest Flower, Coltrane, Alice Coltrane, Miles Davis, Mose Allison singing. I mean, we listened to jazz, and it was more of a mellow music. And I remember one morning, I was running late for work, and so somebody gave me this album, The Chronic, and so I put in what was the song? Pushing Weight, I think it was, by Ice Cube. I push rhymes like weight, doom, doom, I push. And that song, man, I remember I walked in and I'd been listening to it like 3 times on the way to work. And I walked in, my boss said, "You're a little late." And man, I got so mad at this dude. I thought in my mind, I said, "Man, I should punch you right in the mouth." But it's that music had me feeling like that,
I'm feeling like that.
The music had me in that frame of mind, like,
I got
I'm trying to hear this, man,
I got kids in their 40s and stuff, so and I talked to them because one of my daughters, she was getting ready to go out, and they're going out, and she said, "I got to get my Vaseline and stuff because we're gonna fight tonight." I'm saying, like, wait a minute. She said, "Well, these girls was messing with us at the club, and we're gonna get in and we're gonna get out." And I'm saying, like, wait a minute, wait a minute. When we came up, we went to the club, and there was some beef going on with whoever. And the next week we ain't going to that club. We going to another group. We are
right.
And then too, we
want to have a good time.
Yeah, we want to
have a good time.
We weren't trying to fight because we had on alligator boots, suede front knit shirts and sharkskin slacks. You know what I'm saying? We had on, back then we used to dress up, and they don't they don't do that now, and so
all I have to say is that music is making them angry. When we had music, you hear like Marvin Gaye or Temptations or something. You going out there. See, when we were kids and we were just, we got a 12-year-old girl and stuff. Or we was 12 too now, but we was the young girl. We just write the song lyrics down and send them to them. That's the way I.
Yeah.
But
it's different, man. The music. I think music reflects society, but also music helps shape society. I mean, because you look at some of the music, you look at, I remember the Staple Singers, they had a lot of positive songs. They were the crossover gospel artists, right. But they had songs like, I remember Respect Yourself was one.
Come go with me.
Come go with me, yeah. And it was talking about to a better place, and a better existence. And some of the music now is some of the rap is pretty violent, man. It's
violent, ratchet, all of that.
Yes, it's pretty. And I can see how impressionable, because we were impressionable too when we were young, but fortunately we had impressions of good things, and we had guys like Al the Barber to pull us, he'd pull you off the street, man. He see you go on the street, say, "Man, come here." Say, "Yeah, what's up, Al?" He said, "I heard that you did such and such or said such and such." He said, and he looked at you and say, "Man, that ain't cool." But he would, he was get involved and kind of help keep you on the straight and narrow. And I just don't see that happening now, man. And I think with the music complicating things, it's a wonder some of these kids are able to finish high school and go on to college because they get inundated with so much. And I think, with social media, they are exposed to a lot more, a lot earlier than we were,
Absolutely.
So,
where do you see the music going now?
You know what? The beauty of the era that we're in right now, though, because of social media, is whatever you're looking for, you can find it. So to an underground artist like such as myself, who is considered a conscious artist, for the collective people who are out there looking for conscious music, you don't have to wait around and wait for the radio to give it to you. You can find it via the internet. So the internet is a powerful tool just as far as allowing people to find what they're looking for. But, it's funny, somebody asked me the other day, do you think rap music is going to last another 20 years? And the thing about it is, when rap first came out in the 80s, they didn't think it was going to last past the 80s,
Well, it actually came out in the 20s with Cab Calloway. He was a rapper.
True indeed. And the last poets in the 70s and 60s. So, and James Brown, but to the art form that it turned into in the 80s, people did not think that was going to turn into a mainstream. And now it's almost, dwarfed every other genre of music. You don't even hear any.
Yeah.
You don't hear any. R&B is pretty much non-existent, unfortunately. And that's, I feel for, our babies coming up now. They don't make good love music no more. Like, I don't know, when you in the bed with your lady, what you gonna listen to nowadays? Like, I don't even know. You got to go back old school.
My wife and I were riding down the road, and this music came on. It was nice and soft. It had a nice beat. And I'm just saying, oh, I like this. And then the girl said, I bust the windows in your car. I was like, did she just say she busted out the windows in his car?
Yeah.
That was a huge hit, man, too.
Yeah, that was a big record. She's actually one of the most talented singers out right now, Jasmine Sullivan, but it still did have a violent undertone in that song. You know what I'm saying? But
that was during the era of the man-hater songs.
Right.
You don't see as many man-hater songs as you used to. But there was an era, like Beyonce, Irreplaceable, To the Left,
Right.
And it was an era for a while, man. It was, man-hater songs was what was happening, like No Scrubs, you know what I'm saying? And it's really a shame because I think the music industry helps shape consciousness. And I think, a lot of young people, especially young men, have gotten a bad rap thanks to the music industry. Young Black men have gotten a bad rap thanks to the music industry. And I think, the saving grace is that now, with the advent of the internet and YouTube and everything, like you say, whatever you want to find is out there. So they don't control music like they did, when gangster rap was popping in the 80s and 90s. They don't control it like that anymore. And the thing that gets me is it's still a popular art form. And gangster rap seems like it's coming back, but I think it's coming back because that's what they're pushing.
Yeah,
it's the kind of artists that they're pushing. And you see some of these artists and you say, man, I can't believe that this, you look at Chris Brown and them guys and Lil Wayne, those guys are talented. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they make stuff that's a little on the edge, but they're talented musicians, and performers. But some of these cats now, the stuff they talk about, man, it's like there's nothing to it. And it's
like you said, going back to who the decision makers are and who's really, putting these images in front of our babies. You look at the Grammys, and you look at the major award shows. What artists, BET Music Awards, what artists are they putting out there for the young generation to say this is who we need to be following? This is who, they make a lot of those decisions.
Mhm.
So it's really, I hope the artists, you know, come together. Is more coming together of artists who want to hear good music again on the radio and put out there in the mainstream, to be the ones to put it out there.
Yeah, I know somebody, a young lady, no, the guy said, oh man, he said, what do you think about Cardi B? He said, man, I really like Cardi B, man. I said, for your wife, your mother, your daughter, your girlfriend. He said, oh, I wouldn't let my daughter dress like that. I wouldn't want my wife doing that. He said, my God forbid, my mother. I said, well, who you like her for then?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times these images, people, they just put them out there and you accept them.
But Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah, I mean, you accept them, and you would never see girls of a certain race do the stuff that Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B, and Doja Cat do.
Right.
You only see young Black women doing that stuff, man, and that's not a coincidence, I think. And I think it's it's a sad commentary on the music business, that they put that out there and people accept it. And now we did a show about a month ago with Mike's daughter and two or three other physicians, young Black female physicians, about how social media is causing these young girls to want to alter their body, and getting the Brazilian butt lifts and all kind of stuff. And they said it's really becoming a problem, man, because they are destroying themselves trying to look like what they think they should look like rather than what they actually do look like,
Like the video vixens.
Yeah, the video vixen. They see somebody on a video, well, how do you want? I want to look like Nicki Minaj,
Just we talking about images and stuff like that. What are like the youth that you're working on? What are they saying? What are they saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of the first questions I ask, when I sit down with because I want to connect with them. I want to know what they like. And, from the babies, like this summer, I was working with kids that are 7, 8, 9-year-old. And I'm asking them, who are your favorite artists? And they saying all these artists that you're naming, Nicki Minaj, Lil Baby, The Baby, the list goes on, because that's what they're getting exposed to.
Right.
And so it's just really, they're just a product of what they're being exposed to. I have 3 daughters myself, and with my girls, their age range are from 7, 11, and 14, and so they're in that age demographic where they can be exposed to the same amount of stuff. But me and my wife, I pride that we just try to pour so much other stuff. My daughters all got old souls. I play so much old school stuff around them. My daughter's favorite groups is New Edition. You would have think these girls were born in the 80s, because of what they listen to. I mean, they're exposed to some other stuff, but we do so much pouring of other good stuff, right. They barely have time. And I want to take a quick moment, too, to shout out my wife and her juice company, Shawnee's Juice, which is something that we launched this year too. My wife started a cold press juice company where it's all about health and wellness. She does ginger shots, all types of fresh juices, and we deliver. And you want to check us out, Shawnee's Juice, you can go to shawneesjuice.com and
spell that for us. Spell that for us.
Shawnee's. So that's SHAWNIES, Shawnee's Juice,
okay.
JUICE.com. Yep. And you can order all your juices right there, and all about health and wellness. So, I pride on, me and my wife being a co-parenting team. We're pouring into our daughters, and I believe that, that type of, consistency is what it takes to, shield our children from some of this nonsense out here. Like you said, the internet, you get exposed to. I got 3 daughters, Nia, Kai, and Zoe. Yep.
I have 2. Mike, how many daughters you got?
Yeah.
He raised 10 girls, dude. Mike raised 10 girls. Can you imagine that?
10?
10. He raised 10 girls.
10.
God bless you,
See,
man.
that's
All
one
of them super successful too. All of them super successful.
the thing. Appreciate it. But see, the most things, the things that our children now, they need, and like you've given your children, they need more, they need different windows to look out of. You know, that's the whole thing. They need to see different things. They need to change the channel, but they need different windows, you know, to look. They don't need to see the same old stuff, people getting shot and killed and just doing this and the same old rap, the same old. Take them to Severance Hall. Let them see the Nutcracker, you know. Let them see they got a jazz show that come around all the spring. Well, it didn't happen during the COVID, but they got a mean jazz program that they have at Severance Hall. Y'all go, you know, dress up and everything and go. That's a fine built place, man. And you know, your children ought to be able to.
Yeah, exposure to that. Yeah.
Exposure.
Okay, well, we thank you for watching tonight. Unfortunately, our time is up, but we do thank you for yours. Mike, you got any closing thoughts?
I want to thank the young brother for coming over and talking with us, and you know, like to have you again sometime.
I was going to say, you know, when there's one thing I forgot to tell you is that when you're on the show, that we reserve the right to call you back when we want to. So.
The last thing I want to say is tell all our viewers to like and share the program.
Yeah, please share, like and share. Very good point, Mike. So, Jamaal, did you want to say anything before we get out of here?
Just briefly, once again, I appreciate you gentlemen for allowing me to come on and, you know, share some of the things that I've been blessed to do in the community. If anybody wants to get in contact with me or work with what I got going on in the community, you can go to maalg.com. It's MAALG.com. Or if you want to go right to the Junior Barnes website, we have a .org at JRBARNES.org. And you can donate to the foundation there and just keep up with what we're doing in the community.
All right, this is another Clevelander doing some great work. And I'm sure this won't be the last time that we see you on the show. So without further ado, good night, good evening, and have a great week. And we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Peace.